Hello, my name's Ian McCall and this is a video from the Dermoscopy Made Simple series. Today we're going to look at lines radial. We've already looked at lines reticular, we've looked at lines curved and branched. Now we're going to look at lines radial. There are two types of lines radial that we have to consider. There's lines radial parallel at the periphery, and generally they'll signify a melanoma or a reed nevus. They represent intraepidermal growth of cells, or cells at the dermoepidermal junction that are growing quickly. And then there are lines radial peripheral meeting at a point. They're angling in. And if they're angling in to meet at a point, either peripherally or even within a lesion, then they signify a BCC. So lines radial peripheral, reed nevus or Spitz nevus, melanoma, or BCC if from a point. Generally, in a melanoma, the lines radial peripheral are localized. They're not uniform round the outside, whereas in a reed nevus, you tend to have lines radial peripheral parallel running right round the whole lesion. So let's go and have a look at our lines radial. Let's make this just a little bit bigger. So here we have lines radial peripheral. Here we actually have a pseudopod, which we've already done, which is a peripheral lines radial with a knob at the end of it. There's several pseudopods here. You got this dense homogeneous central pigmentation. This image is courtesy of Dr. Jean-Yves Gourand. Note their uniform peripheral streaks. So these uniform lines radial peripheral, sometimes known as linear streaks, plus the occasional pseudopod, is typical of a reed nevus. If you get a lot of pseudopods, you'd certainly look carefully at the lesion. And again, it depends on the age. But note the uniform nature of these lines radial peripheral in this reed nevus. However, compare it with this lesion. Let's make this a little bit bigger as well. Now, here you've still got some lines radial. They're not quite as uniform as before. You've got this area in here, blue-white structureless area. You've also got some peripheral brown dots in this particular lesion. Now, here your lines radial peripheral are less uniformly distributed, and there are numerous pseudopods with some peripheral brown dots. And this was a melanoma. Again, you can see that there's some difficulty. There's a superficial similarity to the reed nevus, but you've got this blue-white structureless area here and these peripheral dots, and that's what makes this a melanoma. So what about the lines radial meeting at a point? Let's have a look at this one. Now this image is courtesy of Dr. Jeff Keir. He did a beautiful animation in our blog where it had these coming to life. I really would like to have been able to put it up here. However, let's look at this one. Here you've got your lines radial, and they're coming in and meeting at a point. And when you see that sort of phenomenon, it's typical of a BCC. You've also got these blue clods, and some of these blue-grey dots. We'll be coming to these later. Blue clods are also a feature of BCC. And if you look in here, I need to expand this to look at these vessels. There would be some serpiginous or vessels branched, vessels branched here. This little bit of lines reticular is part of the background pigmentation if the patient's not part of the BCC. Here again, you can see these lines radial meeting in at one point. And this feature is typical of a basal cell skin cancer. So, lines radial peripheral, if uniform and extensive, likely to be a Reed's nevus. If less uniform, with more pseudopods, then more likely to be a melanoma, and lines radial meeting at a point, basal cell skin cancer. Thank you very much.